Welcome back to another episode of Close to Broke. My name is Kieran, and today we are at the Hustler Casino. It's dark. I don't usually play here, but from what I understand, there's a seat open in the stream game that just closed, so I'm going to hop in, I'm going to see how I do, and hopefully I have only good news to share with you guys. We find ourselves in a very, very fun situation as we are on the Hustler live after dark. So the stream has been turned off at this point. I think it's been off for an hour or two. I find myself hopping into a game that's seven-handed that almost immediately turned it into 4- and 5-handed plays. So get ready. We don't usually play really short-handed poker, and especially not at the high stakes. So this one is a lot to deal with. We are in for $10,000. Let's hop right in. This very first hand, we are first four-handed. I find myself in the small blind, the $40 big blind, and the $40 big blind ante is on. I make it $140 to go. You're a little more incentivized to raise with these garbage hands. King 6 is pretty garbage, but again, there is $80 of dead money in the middle, so why not go for it? The big blind makes a call, and we're going off to a flop that comes Jack 5-3 Rainbow. With the action on me, an okay board for my range, not amazing, probably a little better for the big blind's range, but again, I'm still going to have the jacks, and he's not, so let's bet. I bet 120. He makes a call, and we're going off to a turn card that comes a 10 of hearts. At this point, I have no equity, no draw, but one thing I do have is a set of cojones. You know, if you guys have watched my channel long enough, you know that if the spot's there, I'm going to go for it. I end up betting $420, a massive bluff here with king high, hoping to get folds from any 3, any 5, and possibly a really crappy jack. Anyways, without too much thinking, our opponent's kind enough to make the fold. Nice. Starting off the session with a pot in our direction. There's going to be a lot of not premium holdings where I'm going to have to try to find a way to maneuver through. Either way, sit down, relax, and enjoy today's episode because this one is going to be an absolute blast. In this following hand, we are playing 20, 40, 80. The stakes are really going up there. Again, we're still four-handed at this point. It folds all the way to the big blind who decides to raise for $240. We take a look at our hand and we see an ace, a deuce. Not great, but four-handed, it's like almost nuts, it feels like. I end up making a call for $240, and we're going off to a flop that comes king 5-4 with 2 clubs and a diamond. We do flop ourselves a gut shot, which is outstanding. The opposition checks to me. I'm going to go and check this back pretty comfortably. We're going off to a turn card that comes a 4 of hearts. At this point, my opposition decides to bet $400. Again, not great, and this is a pretty big sizing. I think we can be worried about a ton of different hands that are for value, but quite a few that are going to be there for bluffs. So if she decided to delay c-bet with some kind of club draw, if queen high at this point is looking to equity deny and obviously bet to get ace highs to fold, those are all good ideas. I'm going to make the call, though. We're going off to a river card that comes a 9 of spades. This is, again, a pretty interesting river card as a bunch of the draws break out. Obviously, a hand like 6-7, 7-8, all the clubs end up breaking out. So I find myself in a tricky situation where my opponent bets $1,000. I mean, what value combinations can our opponent have? Sure, our opponent can sometimes be trapping with the top pair, but I feel like just as often they're going to be bluffing here with missed draws. So after a bit of tanking and some egging on from a friend of the vlog, we end up making the call. Our opponent pretty quickly shows ace-king. Nice hand to you. Sucks for me, but we're going to go ahead and just shake it off. Not a big deal. Don't hate my call. It's better to call when I don't hold a club myself. Obviously, this would be suicide if I was holding the ace of clubs, but either way, we're going to go and live with it. Let's go ahead and move it along to another hand. In the following hand, the friend of the vlog is in the $100 straddle, guys. You heard that correct. $100 straddle, four-handed. This is a bit like... I'm stumbling over my words of how ridiculously big this game is. It folds to me in the big blind, and we look down at ace-9 offsuit. I think we can raise here sometimes, but honestly, I'd rather play this a little sneakily. It's nice to have a hand as strong as this as a limp call, so I end up limping for the $100. Quite a bit of money already in the middle, and our opponent decides to isolate to $400. Well, everything seems to be going to plan. We're going to go ahead and make the call. We're going off to a flop that comes 9-6-6 with 2 diamonds and a heart. All right, that's exactly what we wanted to see. We flop ourselves a beautiful, beautiful holding here, as well as a backdoor flush draw, top pair, nut kicker. I check it over to our opponent, who decides to bet $400. We pretty quickly make the call, and we're going off to a turn card that comes a 5 of clubs. On this turn card, I don't think I should ever be leading here. If my opponent has like 8-7, it'd be pretty irresponsible of me to lead here. It's better to, again, continue to allow my opponent to either rope himself in or value own himself. I check it over to him. He pretty quickly decides to check it back, and we're going off to a river card that comes a queen of clubs. All right, not the best river card in the world. Queen 9 is now better than us. If you just happen to have like queen X of diamonds, it's not great because I don't block that holding, but I check it over to my opponent once again. And after the third time's check, it seems to be the charm as my opponent decides to bet $1,200. Well, we played it like this to be in a situation as such. I pretty quickly make the call. Our opponent shows Jack 9 offsuit, so unlucky for us, we couldn't get 3 full streets of value. Our opponent had a really good hand, and it was just honestly a cooler. For 4-handed, for 2 people to flop top pairs with solid kickers, and for that few of big blinds to get in the middle is kind of goofy, but either way, we're going to go ahead and not moan and complain. We got a pretty advantageous situation that benefited us, and we're just happy to take the pot down. At this point, the button limps for $40. I find myself in the small blind, and we look down at Queen Jack of diamonds. I'm going to go ahead and isolate the small blind. From the small blind, the button limper, who's been just limping way too many hands. The big blind gets out of the way, the limper calls. I'm going off to a flop that comes pretty reasonable as it comes Jack 6 for monotone all hearts. Not great that we don't have a heart, but pretty great that we still flop top pair. Hard to make a pair short-handed. I'm going to go ahead and bet for $220 for value, and after a little bit of fun table talk, our opponent inevitably makes the call.
Oh man, why did you say like that? Sorry. Every hand you just show the nuts. Every hand. It's incredible.
Are you back?
Yeah, I did. Am I allowed to take it back? Everybody keeps saying you only have the nuts, and that's not fun.
Okay, take the call.
Okay.
We're going off to a turn card that comes a 4 of diamonds. I can see myself sometimes getting value from worse here, obviously, but at this point, I'd rather just continue to take my showdown value. I'm either way ahead or way behind. And again, it's more important to, in my opinion, kind of let my opponent bluff. Sure, if a heart comes, it sucks, and I'm probably going to lose a pot. But for the, 80% of the time where a heart doesn't come on the river, it's pretty beneficial. I think my opponent can either, 1, call a bet if I make one, or 2, bluff at it if he doesn't end up getting there. We end up checking it. We're going to a river card that comes at 10 of diamonds. At this point, that's a pretty crappy river card. Obviously, the problem is now that I lose to yet another Jack. Jack 10 and out beats us. If he happens to have some kind of random holding like pocket 10s or, again, just like 10-6, I really don't know. These ranges seem really uncapped at this point. I check it over to him, allowing him to bluff at it if he chooses to. Our opponent pretty quickly decides to check it back, showing 6-7 of spades. Luckily for us, we're going to go ahead and take this pot down. Obviously missed some value there. Played it far too passively, and I'm pretty upset at myself, honestly. I think it is almost certain that I need to be betting that turn for value. Equity denial. I can definitely see myself getting called by like ace X of hearts. So if he has like ace 6 with the ace of hearts, it just seems very obvious that I'm going to get value there. Unfortunate there, but you live and you learn. Can't be going into trappy mode all the time. Sometimes you just got to bet your hands. As we talked about earlier, we're just going to be in a ton of spots where we have some pretty junk hands, but again, we're playing short-handed poker. It's just completely different. The ranges are way different. The vibe is different. Also, we're in the Hustler Live After Dark. In this next hand, a friend of the vlog makes it $100 to go from the under the gun, aka cutoff position. I'm going to go ahead and make the call here. We're going off to a flop that comes 10-5-3 rainbow. All right, nice. We flop second pair. At this point, I check it to my opponent, who decides to check it back. We're going off to a turn card that comes at 3. Pretty reasonable. Not a whole lot to worry about. There is a backdoor flush draw that's now introduced, but, you know, not a whole lot to really be worried about. I check it over to my opponent, who bets 100. Going to go ahead and make the call. And we're going off to a river card that comes at 7. All right, the flush draws brick out. Not a whole lot gets there besides, you know, obviously 6-4. Check it over to my opponent, who bets $300. Not a really polarizing bet. It's bigger than half pot, which is, you know, something to note, but not really all that big. I'm going to go ahead and make the call just in case my opponent is ever bluffing here, which he's not. He's going for really thin value with 7-4. So we like that bet a lot from our opponent. Honestly, more than people think. Going for thin value and knowing exactly where he's at. kind of just goes to show you that dude's a killer, and he killed me this time around. Okay, in this very next hand, under the gun makes it $100 to go. The button makes a call. We're in the big blind. Again, we're still playing four-handed. And we look down at 6-4 offsuit. Gonna go ahead and make the call here, and the flop comes king 4-3 with 2 diamonds and a club. With the action checked over to the initial raiser, he makes it 140 to go. The button decides to make the call, and we decide to overcall here with our second pair. Of course, there could still be flush draws available, but we'll see how it goes at this point. The turn card comes a deuce of diamonds, bring the front door flush draw, giving us a gut shot straight flush draw. This is pretty freaking cool. I mean, we've never hit one of these. If we hit it, that'd be freaking awesome. Otherwise, you know, there's some small chance our hand's actually good here sometimes. The action checks over to the button this time around, who bets $400. The action on me, we decide to make the call here, looking to hit our gut shot straight flush draw, or again, maybe our 5 would be a big help, or maybe hitting 2 pair or a trips situation would be great. Either way, we're going off to a river card after calling. That comes a 4 of clubs. All right, we make, you know, trips. Pretty great. Check over to our opponent, who decides to bet $900. Hard to see him bluffing here, but the interesting thing now is that we actually beat a lot of value hands. If he has like ace king or king queen, king jack, king 10, he's been betting like this for value in the past, so I don't think it'd stop him anytime soon. I end up making the call here, and our opponent shows 5-6. And in my notes, I write LOL. And I wrote LOL because this guy's had the nuts every single time he's bet, it feels like. Well, by the nuts, we mean like he just had the best hand every time. Oh, good hand, sir. You deserve all my monies. Let's see if I can get any back at this point, because we are not doing too well this session. Looking to battle back, we're probably down like 1 or 2,000 at this point. Again, you know, there's an opportunity in this game. We've just got to make the most of it. Either way, the button limps here for $100 as the $100 straddles on. I look down at 8-7 suited. And we're going to go nicely for the big blind. It'd be foolish for me to let this get past me. I make it $500 to go. It folds back to the limper, who makes a call. And we're going off to a flop that comes king, queen, 4 with 2 spades and a club. All right, we flop ourselves a flush draw, and we're a big fan of such things. With the action on me, I'm going to go ahead and bet around half the size of the pot. I make it $700 to go, and my pretty, you know, opponent is almost too excited to get his money in the middle, and he makes the call. What have we learned about things like that? Usually a sign of weakness. Nobody's that excited to get their money in the middle, right? No Hollywooding allowed. We're going off to a turn card that comes the ace of clubs. This is interesting. This brings a backdoor flush draw, which is okay, I guess. Not for me, but I don't know. But this is really good for my range. Even my bluffs like jack 10 improve. My hands like ace queen, ace king improve. I just have the absolute nut advantage here. With the action on me, it's time to really put my foot to the metal here, the pedal to the metal. I make it $1,700 to go, with the anticipation that I'm going to be jamming pretty much all rivers, or if not jamming, you know, obviously going massive here. My opponent goes into the tank before eventually deciding to make the fold. Let's go. 8 high has never done us wrong. Really great situation there, getting our opponent to fold what he would later say was a queen. We're going to go ahead and show it because we're trying to get this table loosened up a bit here. Either way, happy for that one to go in our direction. That is going to push us back in the direction of black. Alrighty, now with a little bit of money to play with as we are slightly ahead in the game, we find ourselves in a pretty interesting spot. In this next situation, the small blind raises to $120. I'm in the big blind, and we look down at ace-king offsuit. Gonna go in 3-bet here to $360. 3x is perfect in position. Our opponent pretty quickly makes a call, and we're going off to a flop that comes ace-jack 8 with 2 hearts and a spade. Alright, this is an interesting flop, to say the least. Our opponent decides to check it over to me. I decide to c-bet for $210. This is a really wet board texture, but the problem is, it's just also a board texture that crushes my range a lot more than my opponent's range. Our opponent's going to be, you know, raising and calling with maybe some king jack and queen 10 for sure, but a lot of like pairs and a lot of inferior aces as well. So I'd like to string them along and make a bet here for $210. Our opponent pretty quickly makes a call, and we're going off to a turn card that comes a king of spades. Does introduce a backdoor flush draw, as there's now 2 combos out there. With the action checked over to me, I should be betting here. I just should be, but for some reason, my gut and my instinct is just not liking it. There's something weird about the situation. I'd rather play a little bit of pot control here. And again, our opponent has shown the likelihood to make a big bluff on the river. So let's just have a hand this strong on our range. I just check it back and we're going off to a river card that is, again, one of my most obnoxious cards to have on the river as it comes to 8 of hearts. Pairs the board, which sucks. It also brings in the front door flush draw, which also sucks. And it sucks even more when my opponent bets $300. All right, this is obviously a value bet. And of course, we do beat a lot of value. We beat ace-jack. We beat any ace. And yeah, we beat all other random holdings like ace-10 or maybe ace-5, whatever. The point being, I'm never folding, but it'd be absolutely redonkulous if I raise here. So I end up making the call. And of course, our opponent chose queen 9 of hearts. Why wouldn't she have it? Sucks for me, as that's just kind of how today's session gone. But all that being said, we pretty much broke even on this session. I'm going to take that every day of the week. If the cards aren't falling in my favor and I played okay, I can't kill myself for it. We got a big bluff through, and I'll take that any day of the week. Either way, it was a pleasure playing with our folks here today. We were playing three-handed for the last hour and a half. And yeah, thanks for the battles, guys. It was a pleasure meeting you, and it was a pleasure talking to you guys. Otherwise, for the lovely folks of the Close to Broke Familia, thank you so much for watching. Seriously, you guys are amazing, and kind of what makes this whole poker thing worth it for me. Let's start with me in person, and let's see how the heck we feel after such a grueling session, really. All right, well, this is exactly where I last left you off at. And let me tell you guys, the game started off with 7-handed, and almost instantly we got down to like 4-handed, which was unfortunate. No action, no excitement for us. We made one pretty fun bluff with 8 high, but we V-pipped as much as we possibly could, but we just found just not a lot of spots. I don't know, the game wasn't like great or anything. It's not like I'm in there, but it wasn't boring, and that's what made it, that's what I stayed for. The characters that were in the game were wonderful and made it, a great environment. I met some really nice people, and that's what poker is like, one of the coolest parts about it. So either way, I'm happy with the fact that I came here. I don't like getting sessions started at midnight, but we did. We only played for a couple of hours. We didn't get a ton of hands that were even eligible for the vlog. There was a lot of really boring stuff, but what you guys want to know, we were into today's game for $10,000, and we were out for $9,690 exactly. So a loss of just $310 seems okay in a game that was 20, 40, 80 for most of the time. So, it is what it is. I appreciate you guys always for watching and supporting these vlogs. It means more to me than you guys honestly know, probably. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Have a happy Independence Day, or a lot of you guys had, but I filmed this video beforehand. Either way, it's too late. I'm just getting delirious at this point. It's time for me to get the hell home. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Stay happy, stay healthy, and more importantly, guys, run good at the tables. Deuces.